Coming up, a bunch of launches.
Dream Chaser catches a ride.
The IXV space plane. Plus, we're joined by Chasing Atlantis.
Selfie.
Stay tuned. Tomorrow begins right now.
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike. Got the flag up now. You can see the stars and
Private space station.
Welcome to Tomorrow, episode 7.31 for Saturday, October 18th, 2014. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me, as always, the beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham, and we'll be your hosts for this episode. Now, before we get started, a huge shout out to all the patrons of Tomorrow who've helped to make this episode happen. These are the people who've contributed at least $10 to this specific episode. You can get more information on how to help crowdfund the show over at patreon.com/TMRO. Now, we've actually been off for the last 2 weeks or so, and one of the bonuses of using Patreon is that for those 2 weeks, you do not pay. We don't produce, you don't pay. It's that simple. So, all right, because we've been off for 2 weeks, we have a slew of launches. We're going to do these things back to back to back. So here up first, Proton-M. That bad boy launched September 27th at 2023 Universal Time. Proton is actually Russia's most powerful launcher. This is I believe this was the first time it came back since that giant accident you saw a few shows back where it just came crashing back down to Earth. This was a military satellite for the Russian government known as, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Olymp. And the thing, if we're talking about the crash, Proton is a hypergolic rocket, which means that when it crashes, it's super freaking toxic. So that's really bad. They're looking to replace it with Angara, hopefully sometime in the next couple of years. Next up, China.
07星发射升空，卫星顺利进入预定轨道。实践11号07星由中国航天科技集团公司所属东方红卫星公司负责生产，主要用于开展空间科学与技术实验。
And that's really all the footage we have of it. It's just going to go up a little bit further. This launched September 28th at 5:13 Universal Time. It was a Long March 2C. This was a seventh in a series of military satellites, although they claimed they were experimental satellites. So we think that they're early operational warning satellites with a bunch of infrared sensors. Next up, Japan.
全システム準備完了。メインエンジンスタート。SRBA 点火。リフトオフ。天気気象衛星ひまわり8号を搭載した H2A ロケット25号機。
Oh, that is beautiful. I love that shot right there, right on the water.
Awesome.
It's just gorgeous. That is the H2A, and it launched the Himawari 8, again, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, satellite. That is a geostationary weather satellite that launched October 7th at 05:16 Universal Time. This is going to allow minute-by-minute tracking of tropical cyclones and other storm systems across the Asia-Pacific area. Next up, India.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, +1, +2,
Vehicle
+3,
lift off.
+4, lift off, normal, +6,
सफल लिफ्ट
+7, +8,
आपके स्क्रीन
+9,
पर
10 seconds.
And there goes PSLV, the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. That was launched October 15th at 20:02 Universal Time. This is a third of a spacecraft in the regional navigation satellite system. Think of it like GPS for India is basically what we have there. And last up, Orion Space with INtelsat 30 and Arsat 1.
Allumage Vulcain. Allumage UAP, décollage.
Too bad for the rain. Still some of my favorite launch coverage. Orion Space really knows how to do this well. It looks gorgeous.
What do you mean too bad for the rain? It looks like stars.
Well, all right. Oh, yeah, but yeah, whatever. All right, so that launched October 16th at 2100 Universal Time. That was after a 44-minute delay due to, that's right, that rain that you saw on the lens. That was hauling 2 commercial satellites destined to broadcast television to Latin America. Boom! we just went through all of the different launches over the last 2 weeks. That
Nice.
happened. You're like that, just blam. Here we go. Every single one of them. Next up, Dream Chaser.
Yeah, so Dream Chaser is looking to possibly ride with Stratolaunch, right?
Yeah, now Stratolaunch
Yes.
is that company that has the giant freaking airplane, the 747 that they cut in half.
Yeah, well, it's got the largest wingspan plane in the world, 385 feet.
It's going to be ginormous.
Ginormous. It's powered by 6 old 747-400 jet engines. Said to be about 50% complete at its base at the Mojave Air and Spaceport. Home base for the aircraft will likely be the shuttle landing facility at Kennedy Space Center. Now, Sierra Nevada is looking to build a scaled-down version of Dream Chaser that's able to fly on the Stratolaunch plane. Able to carry a crew of 2 to 3 astronauts to low Earth orbit, and can be used for cargo, can only be used for cargo, right?
No, it's two to three humans.
Astronauts.
2 to 3 humans or cargo.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Goodness, see, that's what happens when I don't write my own notes. This would be, and it would be about a 75% scale of Dream Chaser.
So I thought that was kind of cool. It's a way
That is a very cool thing.
Yeah, it's a way for Sierra Nevada to, they did not get part of CCT cap, so
Right.
if they want to continue this is a way for them to not launch on top of an Ariane 5 rocket, an Ariane 5, an Atlas. They're not, you know what? I can pretty much guarantee they are not going to launch on an Ariane 5.
Copy that.
So the Atlas 5, they're going to launch on the Atlas 5 rocket.
Yes.
And this is a way for them to have a completely reusable first stage off of Stratolaunch. Now, it won't
really
be what
cool.
you're looking at right now is the full-size Dream Chaser that was competing in the Commercial Crew Transportation Capabilities contract for NASA, or CCT cap. Just rolls right off the tongue.
doesn't it, though?
Yeah, no, it really does. And it wouldn't be that. It'd be a little bit smaller, like you said, 75% the size.
Awesome.
So, yeah, pretty cool
That's
stuff.
very cool.
So speaking of the Atlas 5, a few weeks ago, Blue Origin announced the BE-4 engine that they were going to try to incorporate in the next generation of Atlas rockets. And we were like, oh, whoa, that came out of... It
felt like it came out of
the
nowhere.
blue.
Of course, everything that Blue Origin does sort of feels that way, doesn't it?
It came out of nowhere. It was like, oh, wow, okay, they're going to do this. And we were wondering, well, why didn't United Launch Alliance go with the more traditional Aerojet Rocketdyne?
For sure.
So, to answer that question, here is the AR-1. The timeline goes September 17th, United Launch Alliance announced a partnership with Blue Origin, and then at September 29th, Aerojet Rocketdyne announced that it has finalized a contract with ULA to complete detailed design studies, develop production targets and cost estimates for 3 liquid-fueled rocket engines and solid-fuel strap-on boosters intended to power the next generation of United Launch Alliance Atlas V and Delta IV rockets. So basically, ULA is not betting on any single provider and says, hey, we're going to try for Blue Origin, but if they can't do it, we've always got Aerojet Rocketdyne kind of in our back pocket.
Which, you know what? Good for them, because they're not known for being very flexible. They're not known for, being all that nimble of, should something happen, we have a backup, that kind of thing. So I have to give them a little bit of leeway, or I hesitate to say kudos, on that. But, they're trying different things, and I can appreciate that.
They are trying different things. Hopefully one of them will work out. The timelines are a little bit weird. It's taking them a really long time to build all of these engines, but, that's the world we live in now. So there you go. Moving along, the European IXV, I think, because I was trying to figure out if that's Roman numeral, but it can't be a Roman numeral. It'll be like 9-5. If it was XIV, that would be 14, but IXV does not work.
So VEGA launcher is ready for its mission with the European, as Ben said, the IXV spaceplane, which we're pretty sure stands for Intermediate Experimental Vehicle, taking the X from experimental, of course. Experimental re-entry vehicle that is intended to validate European reusable launchers. The IXV uses a lifting body arrangement with no wings of any sort, which just makes it look weird to me.
It has see those little paddles in the back? That's how it steers.
It sort of looks like Dream Chaser sans wings.
Yeah, it's a lifting body. It doesn't need wings. Although Dream Chaser is a lifting body.
Or it looks like the cone of the space shuttle with nothing else.
Check this out. All right, in the animation, whoosh, here it comes, coming down. Whoosh, we're coming back.
Oh, actually, in this animation, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of all the little shuttle cruisers from, what show was that? One of the sci-fi shows.
Battlestar.
Probably Battlestar.
No, it doesn't.
No. It's too roundy.
Star Trek?
I think so. Anyway, it's going to be launched atop a VEGA rocket, which has begun its build at Orion Spaceport. It's slated to launch November of 2014, which would be really, really cool to see.
Did you really forget Star Trek?
I did. Sorry.
You lose like 5 tech points
like,
for that.
at least. Well, because I can see it and it was too gritty, and so then you said,
But look at little feet! Look at little feet! Look at little feet!
It does look like it's kicking.
Isn't that awesome? All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Moving along, the U.S. military's super secretive X-37B has landed in Vandenberg Air Force Base. Here's some footage. Check this out.
Well, are we sure it landed? It landed, right? Yeah. Somebody saw that land?
Maybe he doesn't have the footage. That's all right. Okay, well, it landed, and it went whoosh down a runway, and it was awesome. And it landed on runway 12 in Vandenberg. I may have forgotten to compress it. This was its 3rd mission. It's designed to be in space for only like 270 days. It was up there for 675 days.
That's crazy.
The thing launched on December 11th, 2012, and it landed on
just the other day, October 17th.
Yeah, October 17th at 1624 Universal Time. So, yeah, 675 days in space when it's only supposed to be up there less than a year. That's multiple years it was up there. How freaking awesome is that?
We should also mention it was unpiloted.
Oh, that's right. So the X-37B is like, it looks like a miniature space shuttle.
It does.
But it is unmanned. It's super secretive. We don't know what it's doing there, what it's for. We think it's for spying on stuff, but it's the Air Force, U.S. military. So they're like, yeah, I know you can't know anything about this. We have it, and it landed. And that's all you can know.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. This is some amazing footage. Check this out.
So Orion's Delta IV Heavy rocket moved to the launch pad.
Boy, Carrie Ann, are you reading that from
No, okay, so on September 30th, the Delta IV Heavy, destined to launch the first Orion spacecraft, was moved to Pad 37. Orion is slated to lift off on December 4th, which is very exciting. This will be an unmanned test, which will last around 4 hours. We'll fly to the altitude of 3,600 miles, or 15 times higher than the International Space Station orbit.
Holy cow! So Orion's going way. Well, the idea is that we're gonna shoot Orion up there, unmanned, of course, and we're gonna test it to make sure that we can bring it back. We can test the heat shield. We can test everything else. I just love the shot of the Delta IV Heavy. You can see the booster cores on the side, the center core in the middle, the whole thing just rotating up from horizontal
like
into
gorgeous morning shots.
Yeah, this is also 8x speed. I want to say it is. So
yeah,
8 times.
Hope so.
Yeah, it does not move this quickly in IRL.
Well, and I like how, like, you know, if you're not watching it directly and you sort of like look down and you look back up, you're like, holy crap, they're just slamming that thing up.
Yeah, it would be really. You know what? ULA, I hereby have a challenge for you. You are challenged to actually get the Delta IV Heavy to move that quickly in real life when you're making it go from horizontal.
You think the strong back would just like bend under that kind of pressure?
It's really freaking cool. So anyhow, there you go. That was they're getting ready to bring put Orion on top of that and launch into space. That's December 4th of this year, if we didn't mention, I think.
Yes.
Yep. So there you go. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're bringing on Chasing Atlantis to tell them why they're chasing the most popular and awe-inspiring orbiter of all time. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. Nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving, through the heat keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
And welcome back to tomorrow. And guess what, guys? I'm doing the interview. Isn't this exciting? I just want to take a moment, though, first off, at the top of the segment, to thank all of our Patreon supporters for supporting our show, obviously. These people, if I remember correctly, because Ben usually does this announcement, is the people who donated $5 or more to this particular segment of this particular show, which is really super awesome. I can't even believe how this list continues to get longer and longer every single week. Those names get tinier and tinier, and it's a good thing that nobody has a really long name like Higginbotham, because otherwise it definitely would not fit onto that screen. So, in any case, why don't we jump right on in and say hello to our guests. This is Matt.
Hello.
This is Paul.
Hello.
And you guys collectively are known as Chasing Atlantis, yes?
That is correct.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
Pat, as Ben liked to say
Yes.
earlier.
Yep.
For some unknown
As
reason.
one person together.
So why don't we start off with, what is Chasing Atlantis?
So the film started off as a way to reconnect with a passion. So, you know, a lot of us can I think, empathize with wanting to have been an astronaut and that dream maybe not having worked out. And I thought about that a lot and got nostalgic about it when Atlantis was doing its final flight and, you know, close off of this iconic moment in space history. And so we went down and did a road trip down to see Atlantis and its liftoff. And the film kind of continued from there. At first we thought it would just be a road trip journey.
And you say road trip from where?
From Toronto down to Florida. So
Okay,
it was like,
good.
what, 2.5 days to get down?
Yeah, about 1,600 kilometers or so.
Nice.
And now it's really, it's more than that. At first it was going to be just about the shuttle's retirement, but now the whole idea of Chasing Atlantis has been about reconnecting with this passion of space, one that I felt disconnected from for a long time. And not only that, but reconnecting with the community that surrounds space. So, you know, we got to sit down with you guys for an interview about a year ago. That'll be part of the documentary as well. And that's been great. And I hope the message out of that is not only that, you know, to evangelize space and the space community, but also to encourage anyone who's been disconnected from a passion of theirs that they'd really want to become re-involved in. And even if it's not that initial idea, like astronaut, then it can be something else like space show, you know, or space documentary.
Right. That's awesome. So how did the two of you meet? Like, it wasn't just a, hey, I'm really sad about Atlantis, and the guy next to you says, yeah, me too.
That's actually exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, that's how it works, right? We're like texting and tweeting and stuff, and that's how we connected.
Really?
So. No, actually, Matthew and I grew up in high school together. Okay. So we come from a small community called Thunder Bay, which is about 6 hours north of Minnie, which is where you guys were from. And so I think I was a year ahead of him in high school, and we just connected through the music department. And then I went off to film school. He went off to do his international development. And so, I mean, we've been friends for almost 2 decades. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how we initially connected anyway. So.
Yeah, and it was cool because we were also big Star Trek nerds back in the day, and so it was a chance to also reconnect over back in the day. Well, there was that gap in between. Now we've kind of thrown ourselves back into it, but you know, so it was a chance to reconnect over a shared passion and make something out of it. Right. You know, and it's been a fantastic adventure. We were able to, we did interviews with Chris Hadfield was our very first interview.
Awesome.
And that was amazing because that's what really sort of indicated to us that we might be onto something. If we can get an interview with Chris, then maybe we can get some other great interviews. And we've had the privilege of sitting down with you guys, right? From the science fiction side, like Will Wheaton. We just interviewed Rod Roddenberry yesterday, son of Gene Roddenberry. Awesome. All the way to the science side. So looking at Bill Nye the Science Guy, other astronauts.
Yesterday, Will Pomeratz from Virgin Galactic. Right?
Awesome. DJ Dr. P, by the way.
Okay. There you go.
That's his official name.
He didn't tell us that.
No, we'll sneak it in there.
Yeah,
and it was actually really cool because last January we went back and interviewed Bob Crippen, the first shuttle astronaut.
Yeah.
Right. So it was, for us, it was a remarkable process because, like Matt said, it sort of steamrolled into something that we didn't expect it to be. It was really just going to be this journey of a road trip, but it's that larger journey of what it means to connect with this thing that was suppressed in Matthew's life specifically for X number of years.
Yeah.
So
now it's been three and a half years later. You know, we're still shooting. And
I was going to ask because you know, that was kind of a while ago. So what's up with that? So I mean, you guys obviously you've been having a lot of fun with it, and it's created a lot of really amazing opportunities for you. With I think any space geek would be completely crazy about sitting down with any of the number of people that you've spoken about, including us, of course. But so where's the end point? Like, how do you know when to stop?
You got it. So documentary's a front. It's just a way to meet people.
To hang out. We went for a hike with Rod today, so I mean that was actually this is in theory the second last trip that we're going to be doing.
Okay.
We are looking to go down to Florida at the end of the month. The U.S. Spacewalk of Fame Foundation in Titusville, Florida.
Awesome.
They're, in my opinion, they're the most amazing museum I've ever been to. They are all volunteer run, all former space worker led, and they, over the course of numerous years, they've been putting up different monuments for the different programs that NASA's been running.
Right.
And November the 1st, they're dedicating the Space Shuttle Monument, so we're going to go there, film that, and also check out their new facilities because they basically tripled their floor space, which still isn't enough for the things that have been donated to this museum.
Sure.
So we're going to go down there, and that should be the last one. We have some filming to do with Atlantis itself, and so once that happens, unless something significant comes up that we need to go and do, that's it. And
David Tennant,
right?
we've been trying to get an interview with David Tennant.
Right.
If he says yes, we would continue production.
Right. Well, you don't want to just be like a Chasing Doctor Who. I mean, you could
franchise
out like real big time.
Yeah. Well, he was shooting in Victoria for Grace Point, and since I was over on that side of the country, we tried to catch it. We spoke to his agent twice now, and both times it just didn't work out. But if something like that comes up, then obviously we'd continue. But we're kind of getting to the point now where we feel like we have a solid story. We kind of have a sense now what story we're trying to tell, because at first we weren't really sure about it. And it was great because really what it is it's yes, it is about the shuttle, but ultimately it's a story about exploring. It's about exploration and realizing like why do we explore, and how do we explore, and how does that connect us together as explorers, and how do we find metaphors in our life that parallel the personal exploration that we do. And for me, that is space. Space is the place, that is the environment where I feel like I explore my life, where things make sense to me, looking out into the cosmos. Actually, Ben said once really well in our interview, was when you look up, you feel more whole. And I always loved that line. I thought it was a great line. And so, I just want to encourage people, both of us want to encourage people through the film to do that in their own lives. Just be explorers. And how do we do that?
That's so awesome. Yeah. I love that. Okay, so weird question. What's the most surprising thing that's come out of this entire process for you?
The most surprising thing.
Sure, like you go along and you're like, oh, this is just a road trip, no big. We're just gonna film this, and then eventually you're like, oh my god, we're talking to Bob Crippen, like this is crazy pants.
Actually, I think it was the first thing that happened. So when we went down for that initial launch, which in and of itself was crazy because we've heard stories of people going down there 7-8 times and they never seen one. We were going for 100%, a one for one chance.
Right.
We go down there. We used window markers to mark up a car with our Twitter handle and website and all that kind of stuff. And we're shooting outside of KSC, and I'm hanging out of a window shooting with the camera. And one of the guys who had formerly worked on shuttle, and he's a software engineer, he noticed the car. He sent us a tweet, hey, what's going on? This looks cool. And as a result of that, he invites us back down to do a private tour down there.
Awesome.
And we've actually developed this amazing friendship. And for us, it's those personal connections, because it's not about the tech. That's going on. That's Discovery Channel. That's all the other documentaries and films that you've seen. But it's about the people behind it that are inspired to do what they're doing. And that's that love. And that's what we want, because through this vehicle of this film, Matthew gets to explore all of this. And we get to become part of that community as well. And so it was sitting on the shores of Titusville after the launch, and people look around and they say, what are you guys doing? You're shooting us instead of the shuttle. What's going on? And they're like, we noticed that, and that means something to us.
Nice. Yeah.
And so we realized at that moment we had something that we were running with, and then it just steamrolled into what we've got now. That's we've had so many interviews. Story Musgrave, the astronaut that fixed Hubble. He was remarkable. I mean, he was critical about things, but he was really giving with his time, really giving with sharing his own personal emotions as to what was going on. And he was really, really passionate, not just about space, but about philosophy and life in general. So it was a remarkable interview.
That's very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Would you say the same?
Yeah, I think that it's... I think one of the most surprising things is that, I thought there would always be that boundary to remain a fan. Be a fan. Like, stay on the side. Don't be a contributor, but just be a fan.
Sure. You hit that glass ceiling.
You hit that glass ceiling. Yeah. If you're trying to, whether it's connecting with an institution, you can stay an observer. If it's connecting with a celebrity, yes, I'll sign an autograph for you, but stay a fan.
Right.
So what I was surprised is that when we came forward with the story and said, this is what we're trying to do, how many people were like, yeah, that's great, let's do it.
Awesome.
And so the welcoming nature of it, and I think like Paul said, is that, again, that's great because it puts the emphasis more on the community, which is really what this was about. It was the community around shuttle, it's the community around science fiction, how the two overlap, and how we kind of fit within that whole space family.
Nice. So this is probably a stupid question. Do you feel more or less connected now than you feel like you did before?
Oh, amazingly more connected.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would never have thought that we would be able to just call up the Canadian Space Agency and say, hey, we want to interview an astronaut. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. We're happy to do that.
or realize how many more people there actually were to connect with. Because, coming into this, we didn't, we didn't know exactly what who was out there on the internet doing space shows, for example.
I wouldn't have expected 3 years ago that I would be sneaking into the International Aeronautic Conference, which was just in Toronto.
Right.
Yeah, and going to some different events after the fact, and meeting all of these people, and some of these folks are like, yeah, we'd love to connect with you, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I didn't sneak in. But,
Right.
you know, like, but, you know, so it seems to be that there's a community of people there that are around us, and it's not you're at arm's length. They're doing these things, and you're just the fan, but it's we are all part of a human race together, and you're just doing something cool, and let's connect and talk about it.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's that common interest that's absolutely amazing.
And let's put that human race in space. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, have you guys hit everyone on your bucket list?
I
Like, is there anyone that you're missing?
There's always a couple people that you're like, it'd be great, but you know, it's you know, they're in another continent or across the ocean,
Right,
or whatever.
right.
You know, I mentioned David Tennant again. Hello, if you're out there, David Tennant. So you know, it'd be wonderful. But I think
I'll call him later for you.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate that.
No
You know, and we can interview him yesterday.
Right.
So the thing, so it's cool thing about it is that. But I think representatives, like those key representatives from all those areas, we kind of hit in a way to at least get that representation of the community, you know, from both the science fiction and the space side. Like, you know, Bill Nye the Science Guy was awesome. You know, we never thought that would happen.
Like
for example,
all of us look at him as being our science dad,
Totally.
right?
He phoned me too. Like I wasn't expecting that. We'd been working with his agent, and all of a sudden, like the phone rang. I picked it up, and he was like, "Hey, Matt, it's Bill. Where do you want to go on the show? What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I just, you know, just have to do this elevator pitch." All of a sudden,
Right.
it's like, okay, imagine your science children that you raised have now grown up and want to interview their now space father. And he was
love
like,
it.
"Good, let's do it." You know, so so yeah, I think. You know, we're always looking for those opportunities, but I think we've had great, like, we're very blessed by the people who've been willing to connect with us.
Awesome. Yeah. So where does anybody find you guys? How do we know more?
Well, I mean, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Chasing Atlantis. That's our handle on Twitter.
The
our website, www.chasingatlantis.com. We're actually going to be unveiling our beta site soon. So it'll be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, we've got a website
right
upgrade going on.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
And then on YouTube, we're at Chasing Atlantis 135. So got a lot of nice clips from different interviews. You guys are on there right now. Some clips of the interviews that we did with you. And we're hoping the film will be out in about a year-ish.
Yeah.
But, you know, depends on whether or not David Tennant calls us for that interview.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course, if he does, then maybe it'll be out last year because he has his first.
Right. Gotcha. So. Awesome. Well, thank you for stopping by. And then when the film comes out, you know, we have to go.
We'll come back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll have like a launch party.
Perfect. I love it.
Perfect.
I love it. I love it. All right. So when we come back, we'll do questions from the previous show. How's that? Stay with us.
Welcome, future patrons of Tomorrow. If you're not familiar with who Tomorrow is, we're a live weekly webcast about the cosmos and human exploration of the stars. We'll feature things like rocket launches, we'll have guest interviews, we'll have amazing conversations about the cosmos, and of course an interactive chat room so that you can not only talk with other like-minded cosmic explorers, but also us, the hosts of the show, as well. And we're just generally excited about humans exploring space, and we're here on Patreon as a way to crowdfund the show itself, because this isn't something that a normal network would pick up, but it is something that a lot of us are really excited about. For those of you not familiar with Patreon, think of it like a recurring Kickstarter, a way for you to contribute to the show, but on a per episode basis instead of just once. Now, you can contribute whatever amount you feel fit for these episodes, but once you start hitting that $1 mark, we're going to start giving rewards back to you. At $1, you'll get your name in the credits. At $5, you'll get your name in the credits. Plus, you're going to get a exclusive Google Hangout. At $10, you get even more stuff. Contribute what you feel is fair. Now, you know what I said, this is on a per episode basis, and we do have more than one episode per month. So if you want to make sure that you don't spend too much money per month, you can set an upper level cap. For example, you can contribute $5 per episode, but no more than $25 per month. Or you can contribute $1 per episode, but no more than $10 per month, whatever fits your budget. And if you'd like to see where your crowdfunded contributions are going, check out our goals. We're always getting new equipment. We're trying to do cool new things with social media. We're trying to do some amazing things in this space. And each goal helps us get closer and closer to realizing one of those new things. With the help of you, our patrons, we can make this show truly something special. And let me be the first to welcome you to Tomorrow. There we are. Welcome back to tomorrow.
I see you.
Here we are. Now, before we get started with comments from our last show, we wanted to give a shout out to all the patrons who helped make this segment of this episode happen. These are the Patreon Plus subscribers. These are people who've contributed at least $3 to this specific episode. As always, we say week after week, the list keeps getting longer and longer, and it really helps us out. It allows us to do new and cool things with the show. Oh, but we're not stopping there. We also have our patron subscribers. These are the people who have contributed $1 or more to this specific episode. Now, all those Patreon Plus subscribers, they're going to be getting a copy of After Dark as soon as it is available. So there's some advantages and there's some rewards to each different level of our Patreon campaign. And for all of that information, you can go over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, let's go ahead and get started from some of our last... I almost said last week's comments, but
I know, that's what I said. I know
we were slackers. We've been off for the last 2 weeks. We'll explain why in the post show. But first up is Brandon's 98 from Patreon.
So the question was, how and or why were you excited about space? And Brandon's says, as for why I'm excited about space, there are a few reasons. First, I like to see progress in general in anything, but especially space. Second, I like exploring, and I think it's awesome if we can make exploring space inexpensive, fun, and convenient. I like that particular...
Fun and convenient?
Yes. Yep. Inexpensive first, fun, and then convenient. Okay. Convenient. Lastly, I'm curious as to what is out there and what we have yet to find.
Yeah, I thought that was a really great comment. I totally agree.
Awesome comment.
You guys, you guys did a fantastic job. We were like, why are you space geeks? And it was just like every channel we had was flooded with why everyone's still a space geek. It was a wonderful read. It was really quite inspiring to see why every single one of you is passionate about space.
See, in After Dark, we'll bring Chasing Atlantis back on and ask them why they are excited about space.
Absolutely.
Why they became space geeks.
Next up.
Jan Hamio, I believe, from Patreon said, for me, it started in end of 1985, not yet 10 years old. I was watching my older brother playing with his Lego building space stuff as usual. I got the idea of asking him why he was building space stuff. He then started to tell me about real space stuff. He started by asking me, did you know that humans actually walked in real on the moon? No, I didn't. And I asked him when, and he answered me, before you were born. So I asked him, well, when's the next time they will do so? And then he answered me, maybe never in your lifetime. Huh? What happened? He explained to me about the cost and the budget, and right away I felt many reasons why we should go on to the moon.
Yeah, so first off, I love the way you read that. That was I would have been like really bland and boring. You did a fantastic job of bringing that to life.
Oh, I figured a not quite 10-year-old would have more emotion.
No, absolutely. It was awesome. It was really awesome. Secondly, I also completely agree with the idea that it's sad that we went to the moon before we were born, too. Yeah. And there is a possibility that we will not step foot on an alien body during our lifetimes. Right? Now, I think at this point it's a low possibility. We have a lot of companies working on this outside of political interests and governments that are trying to make this happen. But wouldn't that suck?
Absolutely.
That if in our lifetime we don't make it back to the moon, we don't make it to Mars, we don't make it to an asteroid, we're Earth-locked. Yeah. That would not be okay. So here's hoping.
That would not be okay.
That would not be okay. So here's hoping. All right, next up.
So Wes Platt from Patreon says, I grew up with the shuttle program. I lived in Orlando, just an hour from Cape Canaveral. Back in the 1970s and 1980s, you could ask NASA's media office to actually mail you press kits about missions. And I wish I still had some. I lost them in a hurricane.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I wonder if you could still do that.
That would be crazy pants,
just ask NASA, hey, I'm just a regular old schmuck. Would you mail me a press kit?
But you know what you should do? You should ask for press kits from old missions. You should. Hey, I was really totally into STS-122. Can you just send me a media kit?
I feel like they probably still have them.
They probably do.
Because when we were at the press site, there was just rows and rows of these press kits from missions that
They'd
were
probably
not...
be copies as opposed to the actual glossies, but
I'm sure.
I mean...
That would be awesome.
Right?
All right, next up.
Chris Radcliffe, a familiar name.
Whoa, that is a large block of text.
Yes, and
How
it's
did
funny
I allow that?
because Chris never says anything ever, so this was very unusual for him. He commented on our Patreon site. He says, a couple of things put me on the path to space geekery as an adult. First, I discovered around 2000 that grown-ups can go to space camp. I know, right? So I saved up my pennies and I went in 2004, the same week that Spaceship One captured the Ansari X Prize. While I was there, I kept thinking, why are we learning to fly these crazy doomed shuttles? Why aren't we outbuilding our own stuff and starting companies? A few years later, I followed the, pardon me, at GLXP, Google Learner X Prize on Twitter, and started eavesdropping on these amazing conversations with people like, Carrie Ann and Mr. Dornbus and Paul Morantz.
I notice I am missing from that list.
Yep, DJ Dr. P. They showed me that space exploration wasn't just dry history. It was excitement and travel and lolcats and moon pies. I vowed to get more involved, and the rest, as they say, is a small mention on a Wikipedia page that may just get deleted unless you guys make a whole lot more about space ups.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and rotate
a little bit more
this over.
emphasis there.
When Chris mentioned moon pies, I'm pretty sure you're going to start seeing moon pies.
Like,
there's like a 1 minute delay, 45 seconds to 1 minute delay between the live broadcast.
I think it's somewhere between lolcats and moon pies.
You're just right at the bottom. I expect to start seeing moon pie, moon pie, moon pies, lolcats and moon pies right there. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. So first off, everyone should be creating their own space ups. You can get more information.
Everyone in America should be creating their own space ups because let me tell you.
Why just America?
Because
Canada can't have space ups.
Sure.
They can't deal with the power of the space up.
I suppose Seattle's got one. Go to that one. Anyway, no, but like India, all over Europe, like they're going gangbusters with this stuff. Honestly, like. It's crazy pants. Anywhere close to UTC is doing space ups like nobody's business.
That's awesome.
No, and they started here in the US of A. And I'm not, fine. North America. We'll go with that. North America, is that acceptable? Okay, thumbs up. But yes, no, space ups are awesome. Space ups are much like this, but IRL.
And way more fun.
I want to talk about this.
Also,
so we're going to talk about this now.
Here are the moon pies.
Moon
right
pie,
there.
moon pie.
Yeah.
So that one says cow pie. I think
Does it really?
No. Yeah, space ups are awesome. You should totally be doing way more space ups. And thank you, Chris Radcliffe, for that because that is like the coolest thing ever. But yeah,
the father of space ups.
The father of space ups. And why haven't we gone to space camp, man?
Time? Maybe we're doing this show. I don't know. All right, next up.
Martian in a Human's Body commented on Reddit, our lovely Reddit page, saying, I've always loved sci-fi, Star Trek, Babylon 5, etc., and space in general, but especially Mars. But what ramped my interest of space into warp drive was the SpaceX CRS demo flight to the International Space Station. Since then, I have, according to my wife, become obsessed and won't shut up about Mars, Elon Musk, and space in general. And if there was no point of return, it has long since passed.
Yeah, I think when private companies do amazing things in the public eyes, and they take this thing that was once the domain of governments, and they bring it down and be like, look, it doesn't just have to be governments that are doing this now.
Right, human people can do this.
Mere mortals can do this now. There's something about that just you're like, oh, wow, this is closer to me now. Now maybe I can reach it.
Right.
Whereas before it was the right stuff only, and this very elite group of people that you weren't. So it was like this own little club,
right.
And now it's kind of opening up to everyone else, and everyone else is really starting to get excited. And there was something truly inspirational about the first COTS mission, the Commercial Orbital Transportation System, that SpaceX sent up with the first Dragons, and the first time they went to the space station. It was really quite amazing.
It was very, very cool. So Deadly from YouTube says, the things that get me excited about space, well, everything. I love fast machines, adventure, technology, freedom, exploration. The universe is so great, and I don't know how anyone can not be excited about the possibilities out there.
Completely 100% agree. I thought that was extremely well worded, which is why we added in the show. Absolutely. Everything is so great. You can only do amazing things.
Well, and I love how things like fast machines, which is not... Yes, it's something I associate with space, but not specifically with space.
Well, maybe Elon, too. You got the new P85D that does 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds.
I appreciate that crossover. It's an adventure, technology, freedom. I love that freedom is in there. That's so cool. And exploration. That was an awesome. We need that on a T-shirt somewhere, I think.
All right, next up.
Destructor1701... always commenting on Reddit. It says, I love the community chat concept, but were there fewer people online for this one? I get that it's cumbersome to have more than a handful of people to switch between. I assume this is talking about the than you did. But this was more of a Tomorrow Origins deal.
I loved that.
I loved.
The Tomorrow Origins, the idea of the origins of how we became what we are. He said that, and I fell in love with that immediately. I loved the comment. Thank you for liking the Origins type show. There were some people who didn't like it that much.
Yeah.
Like they really liked what we did today, right? The interview format and bringing other guests on. But I think doing it once a month, or maybe once every other month, but once in a while, having that Tomorrow Origins show, bringing the people back in. Talking again earlier about those comments, this isn't an exclusive club. It's all inclusive. It's everyone in the chat room. It's everyone that's watching on demand. This is something that belongs to all of us, and I want to bring everyone in and get everyone excited about that. And I love the concept of Tomorrow Origins. I thought that, if you can't tell, I'm excited about that. I thought that was really, I'm flailing my arms.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, next up.
Nick Forever.
Now, there's a 50-50 chance this will or will not be correct. All right, cool.
It is correct. Nick Forever from Reddit.
I think it crashed. It was kind of awesome to watch, actually.
On air.
Yep.
Reading through all your stories made me all warm and fuzzy on the inside. In all seriousness, no matter how or why, I got that backwards, all of us get here, and by here, I mean tomorrow. I'm really glad we are part of this small community. On a small little rock circling a small gas star orbiting around a small black hole. I mean, it's all relative, right?
I see what you did there. That was clever. Absolutely, bringing it back down to size and putting perspective in the whole thing. But yeah, we're actually glad that everyone's here as well, and hopefully you're having a fun time, and this small community will get larger and larger.
Because if you weren't here, we wouldn't be here.
Well, no, we still would, but it'd be way more creepy. Just so you know.
Calling our marriage creepy?
A little bit. Yeah. All right, this segment is amazing. All right, After Dark is going to be great.
Not lying, but some of that money's going to go to a new light.
We need to close this thing out. All right, last comment.
Mr. Megabar from YouTube says, story in short, Copenhagen suborbitals. My father is way into astronomy, which I became bored of as a teenager fairly fast, and I am still today. That inner hatred of looking up into the sky expended on space topics. Well, I fell in love with the maker scene and did lots of the usual stuff. Watching some random how-to videos on YouTube, I saw that one of the left being about some crazy guys building rockets to fly into space, basically at home in their free time, and open sourcing their plans. Unlike SpaceX, they are honest. I love that.
Oh, snap!
That's what he said. I'm literally just reading it off of the page. He says, I love the idea and found CS, Copenhagen Suborbitals, awesome YouTube channel, and became a space geek.
We agree, and the reason that is the last comment of this week's show is that next week, Copenhagen Suborbitals will be in studio. I know! They're flying from Copenhagen all the way to Los Angeles. They will be right here sitting in these chairs talking about all the amazing things that they are doing in the space maker community, which... even 2 years ago, I was laughing at that. Like, that's not a thing. It's too big.
Somebody needs to go back and find that clip.
Oh, no, I openly admit I was wrong. I was very wrong. And it is an amazing community, and what they're able to do blows my freaking mind. So tune in live. If you've got your questions for Copenhagen Suborbital, add them. We're going to have a Patreon page for all of the Patreon people who are at that level or above. Add your questions into that page. Email them, benjamin@tmro.tv, whatever you want. And we'll try to ask your questions of Copenhagen Suborbitals on air. All right, that's our show for this week. I thank thank you for Chasing Atlantis for being on. They just exploded. They did one of these. That happened off camera. That was a thing. Thank you guys for being on. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Join us next week for Copenhagen Suborbitals, and we'll see you in a few.